When a rescued pregnant golden retriever was brought into an animal shelter, new employee Macy took it upon herself to give it the care it needed. The vet had already informed Macy that the puppies didn't look normal on the ultrasound, but when the day of delivery finally arrived, she was completely taken aback by the cow puppies the golden retriever gave birth to. How was this even possible? Macy woke up to a loud howling coming from downstairs. She knew that it was time. Bella was about to give birth. She jumped out of bed and rushed to the bed of the rescued golden retriever. They had already been through so much together, and seeing her in this kind of pain broke Macy's heart. But now was not the time to feel sorry for Bella, as Macy needed to be focused to help deliver the puppies. She couldn't help herself from being curious. The vet had told her these would not be normal puppies. But what the hell would they be then? The puppy? It looked like a cow! What on God's green earth had Bella just given birth to? And what is Macy supposed to do now? When their first puppy finally started crowning after 2 hours of labor, Macy could not believe her eyes. The vet had warned her, but she never expected this. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. It is not uncommon for a dog that is rescued off of the streets to be pregnant when they come into the rescue station. Being on the streets, animals are reduced to their most primary instincts of survival and procreation. However, what is uncommon is for the rescue station to be well-equipped to deal with pregnant dogs. This particular station had a vet that they worked with, but the vet was not on site. So when a struggling pregnant golden retriever came in, they had no idea how to handle the situation. They were already very much understaffed, and this dog obviously needed a lot of attention. Could they handle her and all of the other tasks? Working with the dog would not just be until she gave birth either, because once she finally had her litter, there would be more work to do with the puppies. Additionally, one of the senior technicians felt that something was very off about this pregnancy and that needed to be figured out promptly. For now, a lot of options as to how to deal with this situation were being discussed. Some options were naturally more pleasant than others. They considered bringing the dog to another station and looking for another volunteer. However, they were also considering euthanizing her. It was unfortunate to have such a sad option on the table, but it had to be considered. Given how busy the station already was and how understaffed they were, the average staff member was really leaning towards euthanization. However, the big reason why this dog got the help and attention she needed was because of a relatively new and inexperienced employee at the rescue station named Macy. Macy had always had a soft spot for animals and, in particular, dogs. From a young age, she knew she wanted to work with animals and always expected to be a veterinarian. She started going to school for it and everything. However, her life goals changed after an experience she had while on a relief trip to Indonesia. In America, Macy had mostly just seen happy dogs in the good care of their respective owners. But this was not the case in Indonesia, where malnourished and often sick dogs were abandoned and wandering the streets everywhere she went. She hadn't even been there to help the dogs, but the people. But seeing all the unhappy dogs broke Macy's heart. When Macy got back home to the States, she started doing more research on street dogs and how to help them. To her shock, she found out how many street dogs there even were. They weren't just present in the small town she had grown up in, but were even more prevalent in the big city nearby. From that moment on, all Macy wanted to do was help these puppies. When she turned 18, she moved to Boston and applied to a rescue center for stray dogs. She was hired almost immediately at the station because it was very much understaffed. Macy was still full of hope and determination. When it was still only Macy's second week, the pregnant golden retriever, who they had named Bella, came in and they had the aforementioned discussion about what to do with her. When the option of euthanization came onto the table, Macy decided to step in. She couldn't just stand by and let a pregnant animal be euthanized because of convenience. Macy offered to work free overtime to get both her normal duties done, in addition to giving all of the extra care to Bella. The station had really appreciated Macy's offer and put Bella in the full care of Macy. Macy decided she would take her home for the time being so she could keep an eye on her overnight. For the next couple of weeks, Macy traveled back and forth between her house and the station, basically working 2 jobs at once. Luckily, she lived close to the station and had some help from her roommate, who also really liked dogs. Macy really felt like she was helping, though it was only going to get harder from here. Other people working at the station did their best to help cover some of Macy's tasks at the station to make her life a little easier and give her more time to care for Bella. They were moved by her dedication and compassion towards this dog. However, there was only so much they could do as, again, the station was understaffed. Unfortunately, even with the help from all of her colleagues, Macy was still struggling. Bella was not doing well in the later weeks of her pregnancy. Macy had to make multiple trips to the vet with Bella in the time she was caring for her. This, of course, only added more stress to the entire situation. All the trips to the vet cost Macy a lot of time and money. Deep down, she started to wonder if this was all worth it. What was going to happen to Bella and the puppies once they were born? Macy didn't have the money to take care of them for much longer. She tried not to become too disillusioned. Macy did her best to push her concerns about Bella's health and the growing financial burden aside. What mattered most now was Bella's well-being and that of her unborn puppies. The vet managed to stabilize Bella with medication but became oddly focused while examining the ultrasound. What he saw was difficult to explain. The puppies didn't resemble typical golden retriever offspring or any common dog breed. The vet couldn't say exactly what was wrong, only that something was strange. He even shared the ultrasound with colleagues, but no one could identify the anomaly. This worried Macy deeply. She feared the pups might be unhealthy, raising concerns about the money she had already invested in Bella's care. Coming from the streets, Bella could have been impregnated by any number of animals capable of breeding with dogs. The uncertainty of what would be born made Macy uneasy. Still, Macy asked the vet if they were healthy. While he admitted the images were unusual, he assured her that the puppies seemed to be in good condition. This gave Macy some relief, even if everything else remained uncertain. Back at home, Macy sensed that the birth was imminent. She took a few days off from her job at the animal shelter to be present for Bella. She couldn't stop thinking about what the vet had seen. Whatever was coming, she needed to be there. As she spent more time with Bella, Macy grew more attached. Bella, despite her condition, still showed signs of affection and trust. Macy found herself increasingly committed to keeping her. However, her small apartment and tight budget presented serious challenges. Caring for Bella alone would be difficult, managing a litter of puppies would be impossible. Macy hoped she'd have more time to decide, but life didn't wait. That night, Bella went into labor. Macy had prayed it would happen during the day, but as her luck would have it, it began at 2 in the morning. Knowing the time was near, Macy had placed a baby monitor in Bella's pen before going to sleep. When cries suddenly blared from the monitor, Macy, exhausted from recent days, jolted awake, unsure for a moment if she was dreaming. She quickly threw on old clothes and ran downstairs. Turning on the light, she was relieved to see Bella was just beginning the process. Macy prepared herself, drawing on her shelter experience. Bella was panting hard, her body shaking with every contraction. Macy grabbed towels and water, ready to manage the chaos. Though the pen helped contain the mess, the situation was still intense. She knelt beside Bella, gently stroking her head, silently promising her she wasn't alone. Despite everything, Macy was determined to help her through it. After about 30 minutes of effort and support, Macy saw the first signs of a puppy arriving. A wave of nervousness and excitement came over Macy. She still had no idea what kind of puppies Bella was going to give birth to exactly, as she had no idea what kind of dog Bella had mated with. However, she was about to find out, and the suspense was enough to have her on the edge of her seat. But Macy's excitement quickly turned into shock when Bella's first puppy was finally born. Those spots, that nose, those legs… Macy was questioning if this was even a dog. The puppy didn't look like any dog Macy had ever seen. It resembled a tiny baby cow. Macy had never seen anything like it. She knew genetics could produce surprises, but they should have looked somewhat like Bella. Yet they looked more like calves than canines. Still, there was no time to dwell on it. Bella had more puppies to deliver, and Macy needed to stay focused. She gently cleaned the first one and wrapped it in towels to keep it warm. The next puppy arrived and looked exactly the same. So did the third. Macy blinked in disbelief. Were they all going to look like this? After 2.5 exhausting hours, Bella had given birth to all her puppies. It was now 4:30 in the morning, and Macy was still unsure whether she was seeing things. But this was no dream. Not knowing what else to do, she decided to stay up and keep watch. Her plan was to bring them to the shelter as soon as morning arrived. She hoped the veterinarian there could explain what was going on. As daylight broke, Macy couldn't stop looking at the odd little puppies. Were they healthy? Was she imagining the strangeness? She needed real answers. As soon as she could, Macy packed Bella and the puppies into her car and headed to the shelter. She arrived before the vet, eager for clarity. Of course, what mattered most was whether Bella and the puppies were safe. The vet first checked Bella, who was exhausted and slightly dehydrated but overall in stable condition. Then he turned to the puppies. Like Macy, he was puzzled at first, but he eventually found the explanation. The spots? Likely the result of Bella mating with a Dalmatian-dominant genes at play. The unusual, almost cow-like features? That was because the puppies were born nearly a month early. Being premature meant their features hadn't fully developed yet. But that raised more questions. Why had Bella gone into labor so early? The vet suspected past trauma from Bella's time as a stray had triggered the early labor, despite Macy's care and support. Premature birth put the puppies at risk, so they were kept under veterinary supervision at the shelter. Thankfully, all 7 puppies survived. Over time, they grew stronger and began to look more like Dalmatian retriever mixes than baby cows. Once weaned and healthy, they were put up for adoption. Every puppy found a loving home within 2 weeks. While the puppies were quickly adopted, Bella's journey was different. Older and marked by hardship, she didn't attract immediate attention. But for Macy, the choice was clear. She adopted Bella herself, determined to give her the life she truly deserved. Macy still works at the shelter, and Bella often joins her, bringing joy to the dogs still waiting for their forever homes.